Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davis and you are watching Conversations in Pop Culture, brought to you by my sponsor, Mixum Printing, the smarter way to print. I know printing your creative project can be confusing and stressful, but Mixum is here to make it easy. From their instant quote calculator that lets you get as many quotes as you want for free to their 24-hour customer service support, Mixum is here to make sure your printing experience runs smoothly from start to finish. And right now you can choose from a range of premium printing options and materials, and the company has also printed so many successful Kickstarter campaigns, a bunch of them you have even heard about on this very show. And they currently offer services in the United States, Canada, Australia, and the UK, and Mixum can print and reach your audience anywhere in the world. So if you're ready to print smarter, not harder, head over to Mixum.com. And right now they are running a promotion where listeners of my show can drop my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab of the current order to get a 5% discount on their first order. So that is Mixam.com. Again, type my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab of your current order to receive a 5% discount on your first order. And every percentage point matters when you are funding a Kickstarter, producing an indie comic book, or printing any material you have out there. And so without further ado, I have with me comic artist and illustrator Rogerio Rios. So welcome to the show, and hopefully I got your name right.
Yeah. You just said the name of my brother, which is Rodrigo. I'm Rogerio. It's all right. I'm used to it. And how you doing? Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, I'm very excited because obviously I met you through Livid Comics, and I had both, John and the other guy who's my co-admin in my comic group, which is really embarrassing that I totally forgot his name, and I'm sure he's not going to let me live it down. But the three of you interviewed me, and obviously I interviewed Livid Comics, and I didn't interview you, and so I figured this is the best time to do it, and here we are. So.
Yeah. That's your revenge tonight.
we could call it revenge. We could call this the true show. We could call this the Tuesday fight show against them. I'm totally down for that. But obviously, all jokes aside, there is a lot that you have done in comics and illustration, and you are also not from America. I believe you are from Brazil, and so I am super curious. For starters, is how are comics perceived down in Brazil? Because the U.S. and Japan and other countries view it very differently, and I'm not as familiar with how it's viewed down where you are.
Yeah, that's a very nice question. I'm glad you asked. Comics here in Brazil is a very, I'd say, it's a wide media, but at the moment. We're not so into American comics as we used to. I remember when I was growing up, Marvel and DC, they were so big. You could find them, in your steps down there, like down the street. In every street, you could find those comics. Now it's not that easy. It's more varied, and you have a bigger range of comics. But at the same time, I don't know if it's the same there in USA, but people are reading less and less due to, I don't know, maybe Netflix, smartphones, or whatever. People are not paying attention as much. Because I used to go to school and we would be talking about the what's going to happen to Mary Jane on the next edition of Spider-Man.
She dumps Peter. I'm just letting everybody know. Her and Peter, they don't make it.
Yeah, that was a thing, and everybody could just talk about those writers, those artists. Now it's more like a niche. They still they have the people. We're still reading it because now I'm 51 and I still do read those comics, and I get other kind of stuff as well, even kids comics, because I have a son who's a 6-year-old and he loves comics. Unfortunately, he doesn't like the kids ones. He likes the same ones that I do. He likes horror. He likes.
So he likes to be corrupt.
Yeah, I think so. Like he loves those David Reichson type of style,
So,
and
so, so to even talk about this, because this is so interesting, because obviously there has been a big shift in comics collectively, I feel, in the last 2 years, very obviously. And then I think it sort of started maybe 5 years ago, where more people are interested in things that are more indie and things coming out of Image. And obviously, I've had other people from foreign countries on in both written interviews, and I interview people from all over the world. And it's very different how comics are perceived down in places like Mexico and in Argentina. And why do you think that this shift has happened now? Because obviously it's not just the United States. Japan is its own breed because they do a lot of manga. So I don't think it's a fair assessment to talk about Japan. But why do you think that now people are saying, hey, I want more indie, I want more horror, and that while I like Batman, I don't want
yeah,
to read Batman. I don't want to read Spider-Man. I don't want to read Iron Man. I like the Marvel movies, and Disney's great on a cinematic level, and so is DC, but I don't want to read those properties that sort of support that cinematic universe, because it's very interesting what's going on in comics, and I wasn't aware that it was the same in Brazil and in other countries as much as it was in the US.
you know what I think? People are tired. People have grown tired of all the capes, and like, how many Spider-Man can you stand? Because there's 2099 Spider-Man. There's Miley Cyrus. I don't know what the name of that guy is. There's so many titles going under the same name, and it's not a superhero anymore. It's a brand. Same with Batman. I love the character, but there's so many books about him, and we can connect. There's not a storyline, so they have to create new universes, and people are tired of it. People are really tired of it. This is why we have people who have grown so big into indie comics. Some of them are not indie anymore because I wouldn't call Dark Horse or Image as indie. Now they are among the biggest ones. And sorry, there's a plane. And like people are tired of it. And I think we got smarter too, because um, how can you stand Superman and then everything that's connected to it, such as Super Dog, Superboy, Supergirl, Superwoman, a black
Hey, I like my
Superman.
Supergirl, so don't be speaking bad about that. Now, the show's a bit rough after season 3.
Yeah, I love them. I love them. But
Hey, Michael Turner draws Supergirl fantastically.
yeah,
I'm
but I'm
just saying.
talking about the
Don't
origin.
touch my Supergirl, man. I'm going to end this
Well,
interview if you continue to talk about Supergirl in a negative way.
you know what? I love her. I think the very well illustrated. But when they were created, they had to tie a storyline that would match to the origin of Superman, and those are not convincing at all. Because when
And,
the planet
and also,
exploded,
just to even stay on this topic, because I think it's so interesting. Um, I feel in comics, there's no consequence anymore for actions. And I mean, I commend Scott, not commend, I respect Scott and Greg for Death of the Family, or Death in the Family. I think it's Death of the Family, because Death in the Family was Danny O'Neill killing off Jason Todd. But there was real consequences in the Batman universe when Scott was writing, back when the New 52. And I make the argument that in the last 20 years, prior to Chuck Dixon's Nightfall, that Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's run on Batman was arguably one of the best runs. That doesn't mean that something like War Games have real consequences when you killed off Spoiler. I mean, that was a big deal when you killed off Stephanie Brown. And I feel like comics today don't have that as well, where there's no consequence, where there's no brutality. I mean, you look at Jeff Johns' run on the Teen Titans. Kid Flash gets shot by Deathstroke, and his body's healing up so quickly that the bolt's in him and it's going to kill him. And they have to keep opening up in surgery, and they have to keep cutting him because his body's so moving so fast that it heals itself. That's a pretty intense scene. When these
great art, by the way. Fantastic art on that book.
That's like my favorite Teen Titans run beyond the original. And so I feel that the part of the shift, and the reason why I want to talk about this, is that there are real consequences now in indie comics versus in DC, because they can't kill off Batman. I mean, if DC came out with a book that said, hey, we're going to do this book for the next 10 years, and you kill off Bruce Wayne in issue 2, we got a story now. We got something interesting going on. And then we're going through saying what's going to happen over the next, 70 issues of finding to Gotham and all this stuff, but they're not willing to do it. And I think that's part of the problem with comics right now, especially with the big two. And so I'm curious how you feel about that, because I think this is so interesting.
Yeah, like when you read the series, such as Immortal Hulk, for example, that was fantastic. I love that series because it's like they dismissed everything that happened. They took from the beginning to the end, and that was greatly done. There was a storyline that you have to forget about the past, forget about all the other authors, all those greats, and just focus on that kind of universe. It's all right. I can suspend my criticism and enjoy the story. But I took a break from reading Marvel. I think it was a 20 years break. All right. And that series was the only one that did not disappoint me. Some of them are all right. I like the approach they had to the Flash, and some stories of Batman. They were good, even though Frank Miller set a bar very high, and after that, I just couldn't read any more stories of Batman, for example. And so I stopped consuming DC and Marvel stuff, and I went deep into indie. And most of the times you do go wrong because those artists are not established, so you take your risks. But sometimes you get amazing stories, way better than those who are then selling in books. And I think that's a very challenging experience to go on researching the great guys. Some of them will make it, some will not. Some of them, most of them, will drop the market, which is terrible. But
Isn't it? I think the statistic is that 90% of comic creators and even businesses we could expand to will not recoup their money at all. In most ventures, people will not recoup their money. And I think the average in comics right now is 3 to 4 years. Now, I could be statistically wrong on some of those numbers, so if anybody has an article or anything like that, please correct me. But my understanding is that 90% of the people in comics will not recoup their money on their books. And that's why people have day jobs. And, I've seen posts by people, and I'm not going to name names, say, 7 years ago, my daughter's 11. She said, "Oh, Daddy, we have this and this and this. We must be rich, and we are doing really well. And now I have less money. I'm working more hours." And my question is to those people saying, are you working more hours and you have less money because your job didn't increase? You don't have a better job? You don't have a better skill? Or is it that you're funding $24,000 worth of comics every single year and you're not cash flow positive on those projects yet, or that you're not in debt, but you're $4,000 in it because your books are recouping 20, but you have to spend 24, and that's just one of the reasons why I'm not interested right now in producing a comic, because the likelihood of me recouping money and running it like a business is 1 out of 10. I have a 10% chance, and I think I'm a good executive, because I'm running my eBay business very, very efficiently and very well. I'm making money in my eBay business. But you know what is? I don't know if that's luck, because technically speaking, I have a 1 in 10 shot to run that correctly.
Yeah, that's very understandable. But I've been getting so many great surprises, in the indie industry. Some guys who should be making loads of money, and they are taking money out of their pockets, to fund their dreams, their projects. I do still believe that people want to read nice, good, solid stories. It's not only about the art. The art helps a lot, but if you don't repeat yourself, if you do something quality-wise on the same level as those big guys are doing, chances are you're going to break the odds and make it. But for each one each one that succeeds, that should be 99. There fails, and some of them fails miserably because they spend their time, they spend the money, and they stop believing themselves. But sometimes it's about the strategy. You have to have the right strategy.
Oh, well, we're going to talk about that, I promise, because it's so interesting, and this is what I love. I mean, I have a very particular strategy in my eBay business, and if you go to my eBay store, all the books look similar to what I'm selling. I am very heavy in certain things. There's also certain plays I make that is something that's coming out this Friday, and it's going to be very interesting how that does, possibly on Netflix. And so, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit. I do want to back out of this discussion and really talk about that, but I just know that this topic is so topical right now in the entire comic world. But you are killing it in comics in a lot of ways, and you've done a bunch of cool stuff as of lately, and your story into comics is so interesting, because you didn't start out in comics. You started out as an illustrator and very much an advertising guy. And how did you get into that? Because that's a different perspective completely than to comics, dealing with things like doing concept art for ads and storyboarding and possibly talking about some beer. I don't know. So
I ventured into that some time ago. I only lost money. Yeah, you're right. But there's one thing that I don't mention, online, is that I took a long break from drawing anything. I didn't draw for 20 plus years. I was so disappointed at the time, and my self-esteem was lacking big time. And I say, I tried everything I could, but nothing happened. And if I show you some drawings that I did when I was 18, 19, it's not so different to what I'm doing now. The level is not so different. I was very good at the time. I could compare myself to some of the good guys in the market at that time. But I just stopped. I quit drawing, and then I went on, earning a living as an advertisement guy, creating logos and doing all the kind of, stupid things, just for the sake of surviving.
Because, but isn't that important? And this is something that I think it sort of relates back to what we were speaking about, where, look, I have a day job. I'm podcasting. I would love to, run my podcast or my eBay business full time. But I also understand that I have to eat. I have to have a living. That, right now my job is sort of a training part-time position. But I'm going to get a full-time job. I'm going to have health care. Hopefully I'll have a matching 401k. Hopefully nobody will yell at me, and I'm actually going to do something meaningful in my job. And it's going to be very, very nice and very fun. And hopefully nobody's going to yell at me. The people I'm going to be working with, I know are going to be appreciative of what I'm doing. And so at the end of the day, I understand that I have to eat, I have bills to pay, and there's nothing wrong with that to say, look, the saying is that they give you a salary to forget about your dreams. It's the drug they give you to forget about your dreams. But guess what? It goes back to the idea that most people are not going to reach their dreams. That's not me saying don't try. That's me just trying to be realistic. And so I think it's very important that people understand that you had to go make a living and that you had to go support your family and coming into that. And that comes first.
Exactly. And at the time, I had a 1-year-old. She's now 22. And, my wife at the time, and she was right, said, you have to wake up because comics is not the way to go. Like, how long are you gonna pursue that career? Like, let's open your eyes and get your foot on the ground, and that's what I did. I could
She wouldn't have minded if you said, "Hey, I just want to do this on the side. It doesn't impact our finances or anything like that." Because most people in society, from my understanding, I'm curious, don't mind if you're doing something as a side hustle. It's when it becomes an impact on the finances, or we might not eat tonight because daddy didn't go to work.
yeah, exactly. But that was me at the time. Like, I was obsessed. I would spend, I would work during the day, but taking all my breaks just to keep on drawing, and the nights and weekends. I wasn't even talking to people or going out. I was obsessed back then. This is why you have to find a balance, and I couldn't find a balance. And then when I said I quit, I just quit. I stopped. I threw all my drawing materials, through the window, and took me 20 plus years just to come back and draw again. Fortunately, you don't lose it, and I was very surprised I could pick up very quickly again. And
And so, before we get into the return, I am curious because obviously, you've done a lot of advertisements, and I have a few of them. I have a few of what you've done in concept art, and hopefully, I won't get in trouble for showing it. But you've done this, which is a beer.
yeah, one of my beers, yeah.
And so, obviously, 5.5% is a little weak for me, but that's just me.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
you did this because it's the holidays. I figured we'd throw something up that's cute.
Yeah,
Um,
it was
that
4 years ago.
And then and then you did something like this, and obviously a lot of headshots and some other stuff going on with this. And so the reason why I bring all this up is that obviously people make a decent living in advertising, in concept art, in storyboarding, in presenting concepts, and doing fan art and a variety of other things. And what was that like in that industry like in Brazil, and working for companies and really presenting different things and have different projects to showcase what you can do? And then fast forward, what was that like when you came back into comics? Because once you understand the marketing, what you're doing with marketing, it changes the way you view what you're drawing and what you're presenting, and it gives insight. And I don't know how many artists have a full business sense of things. And whether you were the business executive on the project or not, you gain sort of an insight into how things work a little bit when you're doing concept art for advertising.
Yeah. Like, since 2012, I have been a professional illustrator. Like, I'm not doing advertising anymore, but I do provide drawings for advertising companies. I just don't do anything outside that kind of stuff. And I have to do maps, concept art, and create sometimes illustrated books, book covers, uh, everything that's related to drawing. And when you do that kind of work, when you perform like that, like, you don't have a style, like, you do whatever people ask you to, and you have to learn so many different things, and you have to become a kind of an artist without a face. You do something that provide for your family, and you have to do
A
what you
good
have
way
to do.
to put it for those who are interested is that you have to check your ego at the door.
Yeah, big time, and which is hard sometimes, but you can also make some money, because there was a market before the pandemic, and I'm going to talk about that later, and it was very good. I was making money, was happy, and I wouldn't do comics back then. But then came with the pandemic, and I didn't have a contract for 8 months because everything just stopped. And I was going crazy, like spending the money that I have saved. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I want to do comics. And then I was desperate in need of producing art. And I'm kind of good at doing storyboards. And what is storyboarding? Storyboarding is comics, basically. And I say, all right, I'm going to find someone who has a nice story. I'm going to team up with that person, and let's see what happens. And then I met someone. I'm not gonna mention his name. And the rest of the story, you were very aware of what happened. And when you are desperate, like you don't check
So
credentials, you don't ask.
let's talk about that and the lessons learned from it, because I think this is super important actually. And I know who it is. And um and I'm just gonna say, I'm not gonna say who it is, but if this person comes after me, I know a bunch of good lawyers. I'm just gonna throw it out there right now that I am not fucking around on this one. So bring it. Is all I'm gonna say. But anyway, this is one of the
Yeah,
things where obviously I have, sponsorship money, and so at some point my sponsorship's gonna end. I'm not desperate for anybody's money. It's actually quite nice. And the
yeah,
reason why I bring
sure it
this
is.
up is that I'm looking for a sponsor, but I got about 4 months before I have to really deal with that crisis. I'm going to solve my problem in probably 3 or 4 weeks. It's just we're in December now, and I'm going to probably solve the problem in January because I'm not going to kill myself during the holiday seasons. If that makes any sense. But beyond that, I'm not desperate, so I don't have to take a shitty deal. But what was that like coming into the deal and then not doing your due diligence? Because I think a lot of people in Kickstarter don't understand, and I had Gamal Hennessy on, and having a contract is very important. And
Yeah, but
handshakes don't work unless you trust somebody beyond it.
okay,
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that in some detail now. It's like at the time I was desperate for working with the American comics industry, just to put my foot in, because I'm a big fan, and I have heard great things about Brazilian artists who are very successful there, because it's a huge market. It's at least 100 times
This
bigger.
is my friend Corey Hardyman.
Yeah,
This
that's
is,
right.
I don't know if you
And
know Corey. If you don't know Corey, I'll make the introduction.
I don't know, but he's pretty hot.
Yes. Corey looks very cartoony.
No, that's a great drawing there. I love the art. Love the
So
art.
so Corey didn't do that. Corey's the writer, and that's Sister Mercy for those who are interested. Um,
Yeah,
but if you don't know Corey, I'll be happy to make the introduction. But
yeah,
continue.
that would be cool. And then I say, oh, right, let's find some writer and let's team up and see what happens. But drawing is something that takes loads of time. Like in Hugh Turn, there were some panels that spent just one day for one panel, because I want to portray the arena with all the people in it, and you could see all the details and all the hatchings and everything. And it's a lot of work, and it was 24 pages, and I've done all my researches, and I did the best I could at the time. And I was desperate just to put my foot in, like I
So,
wasn't
to even
desperate for the
talk about
money.
that, because obviously, and I think everybody's been desperate to some degree. I've been there, and you wind up in bad deals sometimes. So desperation means, at least, and please correct me if I'm wrong, at least so everybody gets a sense, is that you don't have any money or you want something, you're willing to work. If your regular page rate is 300 or it's $80, you're willing to work for 40. You're willing to work for 20. You just need a quick payday, and you're willing to do something that is going to be very helpful and is going to pay you, or it's going to be a foot opener. I understand that certain people undersell themselves because they just need to get into the market. And so what was this desperation for you? Was it more money driven? Not to dive too much into your finances, or was it just saying, hey, look, the American comic market is so hot that I need to get there too because that's the land of opportunity? Or was it both? Or was it that, hey, this market where I currently am in is cold and the market that I want to get into is warm and there's a real career path, so I'll take a small hit now to get my foot in the door and meet a bunch of people? Or what was going on with that? Because I think it's very important that people understand, because there's lessons that need to be learned from this. Not from you, but collectively in general.
Yeah, like I regret a few things that I did, but one thing is I knew that it was a big risk. It was a big risk, but I did it anyway because I wasn't doing anything at the time. Like I didn't have much work going on here, so I had the time to invest on it. But I would not tell anybody to do the same as I'd done, because a lot of work, and even if you get a contract and you live in another country, if you're screwed, you're screwed, because the cost, to sue the person in the other country, is a lot higher than what you would get if you win. So
Also, I'll give a little legal insight. I'm not an attorney, but this is just common knowledge. You have small claims court in the United States, for those who are interested. That typically deals with anywhere from 5 to maybe 10,000, depending on what you're dealing with. And that's what Judge Judy is that's just televised small claims court. And it's actually called arbitration by legal definition.
I'm not very into this kind of things. I'm an artist. I'm very bad at that.
So where I'm going with this, for those who want to just a quick lesson, if you're suing somebody for $3,000 and you are a company, you need to have an attorney. Okay, a lawyer on an attorney, because you're a company, you're not an individual, needs to be represented by an attorney. So now, if it's a company suing somebody, an individual, you need to be represented by an attorney legally. Now, if you're suing somebody over $500, you go to small claims court, but you still have to go to the place, you still have to deal with them, you have to file court fees and court filings, you got to waste your time. So all of a sudden, it becomes a big thing. If somebody owes you $3,000, you might spend $1,500 to get your $3,000 back. So it's not so simple. And this is why one of the things that I think people need to understand is that, when you enter into a Kickstarter, you need to have a contract, but you don't need to just have a contract. You need to have a pay structure and a payment system where every 3 pages you pay me X. My page rate is $50. Every 3 pages, I want $150 in my bank account. I'm not touching page 4 until it's there. Okay. Or if you need to pay me every 5 days, that's fine, or every 5 pages, but until it's there, I'm not touching it. And if you don't pay me, these pages can't be in your book. And this is something that I think people don't think through. And I understand with Kickstarter, it's complicated, where people say, oh, I don't have the funds, but when this thing funds, I'll pay you in full, because they're trying to kickstart the project. I get that, but it's complicated. I think that there's a lot of lessons that have to be earned. When I hire somebody to do my editing that I used to do, I paid the person $500 in full. Now, I didn't send them an episode every week to be edited. I said, hey, man, I'm taking 2 weeks off. It's like, no problem, man. Take as long as you want. You're all good. If you want to hit me, if we got 3 episodes left and you're just taking a month off because you're on vacation, no problem. I got the money. My sponsor paid me full up front. That's the way I work, because I understand me as the client, and if I'm hiring somebody, I'm going to pay them full up front, or I'll pay them as it goes. It's one or the other.
Yeah, the way you see it is very simple. You have a name, and you don't want to butcher your own name. It's all you have is credibility. If you lose that, you're gone. You're gone. You will never come back, because people talk, and you'll be blacklisted. That's it. But it's all right. I'm very happy because of that that work, I met the guys from Livid Comics, and they are great. Including they offered to pay me up front, and I say no, you don't have to do that. Every 10 pages, we cash that out, and it's all right. And it's been very smooth because those guys they are solid, and that was the best part. I met some great guys.
And we're going to talk about that, but I want to show a few more pictures because I love picture time. So I love Little Richard.
Yeah, that was a quick one.
And then also, this is always fun. As much as you love DC.
Yeah, that was before I stopped in the 90s.
We're diving deep here, and then this is pretty cool too because obviously Red Sonja is Red Sonja, and I got no complaints.
Yeah, like I was doing my samples.
And so I just wanted to show those so people know what you can do. These are 6 very different images.
Thank you.
And so I just wanted to let everybody know that you do a lot of cool stuff and that you're not a one-trick pony by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I've done so many comic samples this year, and then I said, why not take into a real project? That was it.
And then obviously, before we dive into Livid, I obviously want to continue talking about what happened a little bit, and we're not going into every little detail, but obviously, what was that experience like for you? Because, obviously, what I do, and maybe I'm the outlier here, and I've been doing it all my life, is that I look at people and I look at their failures. And I look when people get screwed out of bad deals. I look at when people get hurt, when contracts go wrong, when deals fall through, and I say, okay, how do I become better at this? How do I set something up that, does better? I had a deal that fell through this year that was a very expensive deal that fell through, but it was a bad deal for all parties involved. And person just was not as good as they thought that I thought they were. So I know the feeling about bad deals and bad engagements, and you also find out a lot about the comic book community, and then when certain people associate with people who aren't bad and you have bad run-ins with people, it's very interesting. It changes the way you view things.
For sure.
I set up my deals very differently now. And it was a very, very interesting, eye-opening experience. And the person knows exactly who they are and beyond thing. And I'll tell you more about it off air because I don't want to disparage anybody in particular because the saying is never say never, right? But what was that like for you to sort of go through this? Because this is not the ideal Kickstarter experience. And it's probably not a Kickstarter. This is obviously very much an eye-opener. It's also very disturbing. I mean, let's be realistic here. When things like this happen, I don't know about you, but when my deal fell through, I didn't sleep for like a week. I was pretty upset for a week. And like my parents were looking at me and like they were upset too.
Actually, I'm fucking pissed off at this very moment, I'm really pissed off because it's unbelievable.
You can't say the P word, God damn it.
It is. I tell myself all the good things, all the good outcomes, but I'm still, because it has been five variant covers.
Isn't it the idea that you do work? You're working your fucking ass off, right? And you're saying, look, I get it. Okay, I get money's tight. You got to go on a payment structure with me. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt that you're going to cover me if we fund, right? That's the idea here. And that you are not giving me anything. You're not communicating with me. And then you're openly saying, fuck you to me. It's not even saying, it's not even saying if a person came to me and I was in a contract and said, look, I'm having a hard time. I thought we could do it with X. We can't. I don't know what to do, but we got to talk, right? At least you're having a dialogue with somebody. And at least somebody's saying, look, I didn't realize that if I pay you, we can't get this printed. How do we resolve this? Right? If a person approached you in that fashion, you're having a communication, and then you have to say, okay, how do we fix this problem? And then maybe somebody has a creative solution, right?
Yeah, but
For instance,
that's the ideal. That's the ideal landscape. But the thing
so,
is,
yeah.
some people are sketchy as hell. You know, like you can help this, like, and you don't know. You learn the hardest way, I guess. I'm kind of I'm very pissed off at that, and I wouldn't do that again. And my advice for people who are living, mainly if you're not in USA, like don't do work without some upfront payment. You know, at every 3 pages, every 5 pages, you know, you don't fall short for that.
I mean,
But
I'm going to give you a piece of advice on this, and I'm going to say it to a lot of other people: don't do anybody any favors. You know,
yeah,
I've learned this the hard way on eBay, where somebody was playing fast and loose with me, and I said it to somebody else who just got screwed out of a lot of money on in their comic shop live stream stuff, and I said, look, from here on out, don't do anybody any favors. You know, don't throw in the extra $20 book when somebody buys a $1,400 book. You know, don't do anybody any favors. Now, if somebody says, if you have a Barbie, and I tell this story where I was at a Comic-Con thing and I bought $400 worth of comics. And I was like, oh yeah, just throw in that Barbie book too. I'll be happy and I'll pay for it. It was like, it's on me because I just spent $400 and I got it from my mom. This is really cool. It's the idea though that don't do anybody any favors anymore. You know that, and this is what happens, and that's where I don't want to say I'm at that stage, but I've been screwed enough times that now I'm not doing anybody any favors, and it's unfortunate because I want to be very generous, right? And that's the other thing too, right? It's an invasion to some degree of your privacy, and you're right to say, I want to be a good person. I want to be a good, you know, I don't know if you're the client or if you're the artist or you're the talent or you're hired talent. I want to be a good talent where I want to go the extra mile and I want to be generous. And now the next contract you do, you can't be that way because you got screwed. And this is something that I think that people who are hiring talent don't factor in, is that now if I'm to hire you on a project, for instance, you can't go in it the same way that you can prior to this incident that happened, because it would hurt your interest and the wounds are still sore.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but you know, like I keep telling me stories just not to get more pissed off. But this industry, like any other industry, like is full of people who are just chancers. They are there. They want to know if it works. If it doesn't, they just fuck off, and you get fuck all. And but you know, like I'm looking forward to getting that over me and move on, because I'm kind of, I get emotional about that, because that was my passion project, you know, and I was with all
I'm not
my
happy about it either, because let's be realistic here. If we're going to call a spade, there's a good chance people are not going to get this book.
probably, yeah.
There's a good chance, and I don't know about you, but I don't know how many Kickstarters you've backed by any chance, and this isn't a gotcha moment. I'm actually curious on this. There's a point, I promise. How many Kickstarters have you backed?
I backed a few. Yeah, I also there's the other website that I use a lot, which is the indie what?
Indiegogo?
Indiegogo, yeah, Indiegogo.
My point is that I've had one project that I'm pissed about still. And, you know, I mean, I am furious about it, and it's a live press or it's a live something. Is the name of it. It's Drew Ford's project. And I'm upset about it still because we were promised all these stretch goals, we were promised all this stuff. And, you know, it took him like, I think, almost like 19 months. My book came damaged, never responded to me, And I just think he took the money, started up a imprint, small publishing company, and then figured out how to pay back the book after he had funding on something else. And he has a track record for not delivering. And then there are other people that I'm not going to name who I said, hey, your book came damaged significantly to me, never responded to me. And so congratulations, you didn't get off my show. You're not on my show. You can't be invited on, and I will avoid you like the plague on my show, on my podcast, and they've been on a few times. And B, I'm not backing another project, and I'm telling everybody I know privately what happened, and let them figure out why I'm pissed. And when I'm pissed, guys, I do shit about it. I'm pissed about a big issue, and I'm solving that problem in February and March. And it can very well be that this company that I'm pissed at might actually pay attention when they start to lose market share. So I'm not pissed.
I mean, I'm all in favor of a blacklist because sometimes we get hurt with no reason. Because some shady guys they do it over and over again, and like this, the comics market is so big, and they came screwed people by states, And if they're not blacklisted, they keep on doing it, and that's very.
This is actually so interesting because there was somebody who is a comic bully, and has been beyond disrespectful, and I'm not going to say who it is. But if somebody brings up his name, I will happily talk about it and say what I want to say. It's not a secret. It's been disrespectful to me on numerous occasions. This person's blocked, but they could see probably my content in some groups. And part of the reason why I'm not really all that interested in doing comics, because this individual was in there, and somebody asked a stupid question in a group. Somebody who was new. And this story irks me. And when I tell the story, people are watching. I know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't, DM me, and I'll be happy to tell you who it is. But it's the idea that this person said, hey, is anybody interested in doing a cover for me? After my project funds, I'll pay you. Okay, not the greatest position to state. This person went ballistic and tore into this person. Probably this I don't want to say it's a kid, but this person wanted to start, just threw out an idea, said, is anybody interested in anybody biting? I'll pay you after we fund, happens sometimes, but this guy tore into him. And this is one of the reasons, and being disrespectful to me on numerous occasions, this is one of the reasons why I don't want to do comics right now. And that was maybe 18 months ago this all happened, and then this just happened like 4 months ago. And so I'm at the stage now where nobody has stood up to this person. Nobody has said this person's either an asshole or a gatekeeper. And this person's still in the industry, and you ask why we have problems like Warren Ellis. This is how it starts. This is exactly how it starts, because it's like giving a drunk a drink. This is exactly how it starts, and people hire this guy, and I don't get it, because you are giving a drunk a drink. And it is up to us in the comic community to police and call out bullshit and call out bad actors, because if we don't, we get bad actors.
Yeah, the reason why I still didn't do it is maybe I have a faint hope that might get settled. It's very faint, but I don't think that those type of people should go unscathed. They have to pay for it, and they have to go and never come back.
They should be held accountable, and they should have this attached to their name. Whether and look, I believe in redemption. Okay, I believe that I'm a big fan of Larry Lawton on YouTube, and what he says, and I believe it to some degree, is that there are no bad people, there are bad choices. Now, we all know there are bad people in society by definition, but I think most people make bad choices. And everybody's made a bad choice. I made bad choices. You've made bad choices. No question about it. But there are bad people as well. So I believe people have the ability to become redeemable. I believe that, at some point, people have issues with each other. And look, me and this guy who did this, there could be a potential for redeemability. But the person has to come talk to me who has done this. And a bunch of people who know me, know the circles I hang out with, and know where I stand on issues, know exactly what I'm talking about. And look, this person reached out to me or somebody facilitated something. I mean, I think a redemption can happen, but I also think certain things have to be done, and I'm not against it. But even with this circumstance, I do think that I mean, the way I feel is that we have to call out bad actors, and if we want a good comic community, then we have to clean it up. That's how I feel, and I don't know how you feel about it. But that's exactly how I feel.
I agree 100%. I agree 100% because it's at the end of the day, like we all want to make good stuff. Like we don't want to go on, being unresponsible, being I'd say you can't screw up your colleague. You have to do great story together. Like if you're in the same project, you have to invest on it on the same level of commitment. If you have a project and then you ghost the other guy after the project is done and you don't talk to him for months, you should be doing something else. Go search something else to do because we don't need you here. But that was a mistake that I did, and I knew the risks, and that's it. I'm just moving on now. Just looking forward for the next project. Working, trying to get my art hopefully a bit better in every issue, and that's it. And karma is a bitch.
I think things catch up to people. I really do. I think that it's not that hard to know the people who know I have this issue with this guy. They have their issues with him, and what is a bunch of people who knew this guy was a bad actor, didn't do anything. I don't have as much respect for you as for the people who stand up, and I think that's something that is very complicated. And in certain circumstances, and in that incident that I described, one of the things that I regret, and I think I'll regret it for my life, and I don't know the guy he was yelling at who asked this stupid question, one of the things that I regret, and I think this is so relevant, is that I wish I actually intervened. I wish I actually said to this guy, I said, hey, dude, you gotta back off on this one. This guy is a new comic guy. He's asking a harmless question. He doesn't know any better, and you just tore him a new one. It's unwarranted. And I think obviously that's something that moving forward, if I see things like this, I am definitely becoming involved. And I really recommend to other people that you need to become involved when people are doing this, because this is, as I stated, this is how we get problems in comics, and it's how we get big issues that then become hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of problems. And this is the stuff that's going to break comics in a lot of ways. This is going to be one of the dominoes that's going to fall. No question about it. Because it always does. This becomes an HR disaster. And that's how I feel. And that thing, and I don't know the guy who's yelling at this other guy, but it's the idea that bothers me to this day. And for all the people who knew who this guy was, and he's notorious for it, and didn't stand up, I mean, with all due respect, you don't have part of my respect now. You have a little less respect because you could have stopped it and you didn't. And that's the thing too that I think is very interesting, is that right now I'm in a position where you can't cancel me. It's very empowering. I could say whatever I want, how I want to say it, and do whatever I want, because I'm not quitting anytime fucking soon.
That's great. That's great to hear. Because that's what we need. Like we need real people. Like I'm never afraid of being canceled as well. I do think that we can talk it out every subject without going to, I'd say, we don't need to label people. Like you're right wing, I'm a left wing, or whatever. You are a Trump supporter, or you are anti-vaccine, because people are all the time trying to put you in boxes, And like I have nothing against politics, but
I have
and
everything against politics. That's why I'm shorting all of it. That's a joke. That's a whole economic joke in so many ways. It's
yeah,
such a good bet. It was you gave me that one. You gave it to me.
I know. But the reason why I'm in the entertaining industry is that I want to wash my mind off those things and not get into the kind of bullshit, if you know what I mean.
When I read comics, for those who are interested, or right now I'm watching Full Metal Alchemist. So it's the same premise. I want to escape from all the shit that's going on in the world. There's a
Exactly.
lot of fucked up shit going on, guys. You know, take politics out of it. There is 30,000 people get sex trafficked through the United States every year. Okay, just to put that in, reportedly. We're not talking about all the unreported shit. So when you want to fucking talk about crazy shit, and that's the U.S., I can't imagine what Honduras looks like, which is where every drug from South America comes through. So you want to go deep down into fucked up shit? Okay, that's why I read comics, because the world's a fucked up mess, and it's messy. And you know what it is? When I want to read a Zenescope book, or I want to read Yol, or I want to read, Cthulhu Invades Oz, I don't want to deal with the fucked up shit that's going on in the world because we're screwed and we're messed up as a species, humanity. For lack of a better word, I want to escape that for 10 fucking minutes. And I don't want my politics in my goddamn comic when everything else is so fucked up that, guys, and that's the whole problem.
That's why I do comics. That's also why I do drink.
I drink too because there's no other good reason to drink because I want my brain to slow down.
Yeah, I have to stay off drinks for 10 days because like I'm not under a medication and I cannot have drinks. So it's the second day and I can't stand it because reality is tough on us. Like I can go on, down the street and see anybody, like going to the trash can to get food or get whatever. This is politics, I know, but what the fuck I can do about it? Sometimes I just need escape. Comics is a great way. This is why I do art. I try to make the word a little less endangered. Like just by escaping it.
I have such a different solution. My goal in my life is that I want to make a lot of money and then I want to create products so that I can go hire people and then I can go build companies that I can go hire more people and give more and more people jobs. Because if I can hire people, that's how you get people out of poverty and then you be eliminated.
Exactly.
But you don't get it for free. And that's what I believe in. Is that I'm not interested in being charitable. I'm interested in solving problems through capitalism. And we all know where I stand politically because it's clear where I stand politically.
Yeah, of course. You can empower people with money, of course. Like you can take them out of the misery, by giving them some dignity.
I believe that people should earn it. I didn't get to this stage by sitting around on my ass doing nothing. I've gotten here because this is almost 9 years in the making, this very moment. And where I'm at as a person is that I've been through up and down and I've been everywhere. So it's not me pontificating. I've done it all. And if you don't think I've done it all, I've done every type of interview. I've done every type of person. I've dealt with every type of situation. And the reason why I'm doing okay now, and I'm doing okay, I'm not doing great. I'm just starting. I'm average at best right now because there's a million things that can be better. There's a million things in this interview that I'm regretting saying at this point, and this might be part of it. I thought you'd be drinking with me, so that's
I'm just jealous.
now I'm just taunting you. Clearly.
10 days, and second day I can stand, but it's all right. Yeah, but that requires some kind of skills that I just don't have. I know that I won't be getting rich anytime soon because I'm really bad at money. But for sure, like I got a passion for keep coming. I started with comics, and I'm not gonna stop anytime soon. And I started at the age of 50 fucking 1 years old. You know, just starting over. And I love that. I love starting things over again. This is why I got married 4 times.
Whoa! You got another three to Ty Larry King. So there you go. See, I only want to get married once. That's my plan. I want to get married once. I just want somebody who's loves me and appreciates me and knows how to cook a good omelet, and I'll be thrilled. My standards are so low, but she has to like whiskey.
But like all of them can love you for some time, then they're gonna hate you, and later on they're gonna miss you.
Okay. Let me explain. So I'm gonna be buying a house in the next 18 months, right? So this is what I said to my mom, and I said on an interview. I said I'm buying a house in the next 18 months, which means two things. It means that my mom's gonna help me buy a house, and my girlfriend and then wife is gonna hate it, so I'm gonna have to sell it so we should get something cheap. And then every guy I tell that joke to instantly just laughs.
That seems like a pretty good deal for me.
So every guy I tell that joke to, and I've told that joke like 19 times on a podcast, and every guy's like just starts laughing. It's because every guy gets it. Every guy gets that joke. It gets it, and then some lesbians get that joke too.
Yeah,
get it.
I used to say that I'm a lesbian trapped in a man's body, which is that's a very old joke, and I love jokes. The problem with that is that I heard all of them. It's very hard to get me with a new
I have like 15 that I'm not going to say on air because I will get in trouble.
Yeah.
They won't cancel me. They won't cancel me. I promise.
You said before you were not afraid of being canceled.
No. I didn't say I'm not scared of getting canceled. They're not going to cancel me. I'm going to get in trouble, like kicked off of Facebook in trouble.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So there's a difference. There's a difference between the two because I can go on YouTube, I can go on Rumble, I can go on Vimeo, I can go anywhere I want to go. I don't want to leave Facebook or Instagram, and so I know where the line is.
Yeah. They help you to make money, and
I really know it's not even that. It's all my guests are booked through Facebook. Like 85% of my guests are booked through Facebook. So if I lose Facebook, I am screwed.
Wow. So you're Zuckerberg's bitch.
So I don't really care so much about the views on Facebook per se. It's just the easiest way to book people.
Are you going live on YouTube as well?
I mean, the YouTube stuff is good for finding people, but it's not good for finding emails for me or Messenger or things like that. Like Facebook is just a good communication tool. That's all it is. Is that it has nothing to do where somebody made a comparable Facebook, I'd be there too. It's like Twitter's good too for me because it's easy and Instagram's good as well. It's just I go where the easiest communication is. But this is such an off-topic conversation, but there's so much value in what we're talking about right now, though, which is kind of crazy because this is what it takes to run a business. In a lot of ways where I have found, and the reason why I'm successful in my thing and why I think people are successful in general is they find what works. Like I use Instagram exclusively to find cosplayers. Like I had a cosplayer on before I was interviewing you, and I found her on Instagram, and it's the easiest search tool for me on the planet for cosplayers. I legitimately have found people on Instagram who have like 600,000 followers who don't get interviews, who I have friendships with now because I just said, "Hey, can I interview you?" And they're like, "Sure," and it's great, and I love it.
Yeah, I love Facebook. Even though like the platform now is very hard to get your things out because the algorithms is
everybody's wrong on that too. But I'm gonna make
used to be great. used to be great 5 years ago.
It still is great if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, if you know, I certainly I don't.
In 10 minutes, I could fix all your problems on Facebook.
All right.
In 10 minutes.
I want people outside my bubble to see what I'm posting, especially
Oh,
when I'm posting
in
art.
10 minutes, I can fix all your problems on Facebook.
All right.
And if you
Oh,
don't
you
think
should-
I can, if you don't
you
think I
should-
can, I'm willing to put real money on the line
You
for
should
that.
do a podcast on that. You know, like you
See, the problem is
the
that
creators.
for free, I'm going to be poor.
Yeah, you can. No, better. You can do. I'd say a kind of a clickbait for your product. You know.
It's not even clickbait. It's I understand how to use the algorithm with paid ads. It's golden. If you know what you're doing, it's golden. And even without paid ad, it's golden. If you know what you're doing,
But do
easy.
you not think that if you pay once, it's going to be like a drug addict? It's gonna come back for more, and you have to keep on paying and paying more and more every time you post something.
Depends what you want to do and what your end goal is.
All right, you want to sell 500 books.
You're all wrong. You're all wrong on it. I know the exact way how to do it, and I didn't invent it. It's been out there for 8 years, the way to do it, and nobody knows anything about it.
I know you are aware that most people fail on the ads because
Most people don't read. That's why.
They don't know their audience. You know,
most people fail for a variety of reasons. Capital is a big one. Most people are not ready to be executives in a company. Like I am an executive by nature. I mean, I'm running this entire thing. This is so important where I understand what it means to be an executive. I'll give an example. J. Scott Campbell is not an executive. J. Scott Campbell is a phenomenal artist. He has somebody on his team who runs that stuff like a unit. And whoever's running his business side is a drill sergeant and is brilliant. Now, I think J. Scott Campbell is a good businessman, but he's not a drill sergeant businessman. He's a creator. And he has somebody on his team who's running that. Greg Horn, I would imagine, has the exact same thing. They have somebody on Greg Horn's team. Now, I could be wrong completely. And if I am and they correct me, I'm more than happy to take the hit on that one. But that's the problem, is that people have professional CEOs running things, but that CEO doesn't own the company.
But
and
do you think
this is where I'm going with this is that, and this is relevant to art because who you're working for right now, they run it very much like what I'm describing.
But do you think
comics is run very cleanly from what I know?
Yeah, but from your experience, do you think it's possible to write an equation and you could calculate the outcome judging by the type of public, the type of art, the type of story, and the amount of money spent? Do you think it's possible to build that knowing what you do know?
So what is the question?
I'm asking you, that's possible to write an equation, like you say that X plus B equals, whatever there, only by judging the type of work, knowing the author story.
So I actually think it can be very done. I think it can be calculated very, very easily. Because I think it's a marketing problem. I don't think it's a comic problem. I don't think it's a content problem. I think a lot of people in this entire sector don't understand marketing, and they don't understand new marketing, and they haven't adjusted to digitalization pivot 2.0, and that's the whole problem that's going on. Because if you actually look at what companies are thriving right now and what companies aren't, the companies that are thriving have shifted to digitalization 2.0. And most people don't want to shift over. And I get it. I am in complete shift over mode. There's a good chance I will not be at a Comic-Con ever again. Because that's not what anything is. I'm making money for the first time, not going to cons. And I was not losing money at cons, but now I'm making money by not going, by doing this, by doing live streams. I have shifted over. And without a doubt. So I think there is a way to calculate. I really do. And in February, we're going to find out if I'm right. Because in February, you know, when I launch, we're going to find out how that works. I'm giving myself about 6 months. And by August, we're going to find out if I'm right. And it's going to be a real test. And I'm looking forward to it. And I'm letting everybody know that I'm coming.
So would you risk envisioning a future for comics? Do you think that the paper guys, such as myself, is going to be extinct? It's going to be like vinyl records, guys.
I think paper is just getting started. I think that because you guys just had Roger on, right? You had Roger Curtis on. And I came up during that interview, which I thought was cool. I saw it. I don't know how it came across my desk, but I saw it. And he was saying that when Andrew was on and John brought it up, my name, which is always nice, which I thought was super cool. So don't think I don't watch you guys. I watch everybody.
Yeah. You do your homework.
I pay attention. So what wound up happening with that is I said, because he said, we're going completely digital. I'm like, but there's all these people who want physical books. You know, I like to buy and sell commodities. I buy and sell comics. You know, 2 days ago, I sold a $110 book that I bought for way less than that. And then I converted that money and turned it into stocks, but that's not the point. So I don't think paper's going anywhere. I think people want to hold books. People want to smell books. People like me want to trade books. And I think that's just getting started. And I think all these people who say, oh, DC and Marvel, they're dying. You guys are wrong too. They're not dying. They what they're doing is that they're not concerned because they're not marketing to you. Because they have you by the balls. It's WWE does not market to me because I'm already a fan. It makes no sense.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Why? I don't care. I haven't watched WWE. I watch their pay-per-views on Peacock, and then I'll buy a wrestling shirt every like 2 months from WWE, and I'll buy a Pop Funko, and I'm hooked. I own their fucking stock, and I want to buy more of it. To be honest, I'm getting my paycheck on Friday, and I might very well just do that. I don't know if I legally can say that, but I said I might.
Yeah.
The point that I'm trying to make is that this is a whole very interesting discussion. Is that that's my point, is that I don't think paper's dead. I think paper's just starting. And I think that because digital 2.0 is not saying we're going digital comics, this is the misconception that everybody has, where the whole thing is that when I say digital 2.0, and that pivot is saying, I am now moving to having a bigger digital footprint to sell whatever I want to sell, either a digital thing or I want to sell you my iPhone, right? And I want to sell you my iPhone through a digital platform so that you pay me, I send it to you, but we used Facebook Marketplace. That's a pivot where we used a digital vehicle to move a physical good. That's digitalization 2.0. And that's what I think is the problem in comics right now.
If you could summarize, what's the real problem with the indie industry right now?
That is the whole problem.
That was the shortest answer you gave so far. now I am interviewing you.
The whole problem is marketing. The whole problem is that nobody wants to sit down and actually learn how to fucking market something and how to understand what their audience is. And they think they know what their audience is because people are extremely lazy. And people don't want to invest the time and learn a skill that people go and get MBAs for. And that's the whole problem, is that I want to learn that shit. I want to know this shit. This shit's fascinating to me. And I'm beginning to understand, saying, if I want to be the executive in my company and the visionary, well, I need to go and actually learn skills that are actually useful. And this is the whole problem. And this is where I get pissed off. And this is why, I'm at the stage now where I'm building out a company that's going to solve this. Because nobody's doing it. And if I tell you I'm going to build this company out in 3 years, You know, nobody's going to be doing it in 3 years anyway. So I'm going to be building out in February, and I'm going to get filthy fucking rich doing it. No question about it. But I'm also going to make everybody else who joins me and believes and trusts me and a bunch of my friends wealthy too in the process. Because that's how it works. When I get wealthy,
sounds awesome.
It's going to be fantastic. And I'm looking forward to it. And there's a bunch of people who are going to be naysayers. And hey, you know what? Oppose me. See what happens. Because, you know, I'm not saying I'm going to be perfect, but I think I'm going to make millions on this. I really do.
Yeah, you saw a gap and you got your foot into this gap.
I saw what is wrong with Kickstarter. And I am doing the exact opposite of Kickstarter. It's a problem that they do not fulfill on. And I will make millions off of it. And Kickstarter will come calling to me, and I will be very much happy to answer their phone call when it occurs. But anyway, that's enough about that, because I'm not going to talk too much about it.
You shouldn't give away that much.
Even with everything that I just said, most people are not going to have an idea of what I just said and where I'm going with this, because they have not gone through this process. What I came up with has legitimately taken me about 9 months to figure out. I highly doubt somebody with me speaking on this topic for 20 minutes is going to figure out what I have figured out in the last 9 months. Consider this a baby.
Yeah, but when you say marketing, that kind of worries me a little bit, because some people, they do their marketing like months before launching the project, which I think...
I'm taking the fifth.
Yeah, that can be tiresome. Tomorrow we're talking to Dylan Goss, is it?
Oh yeah. No. Just. I think I'm talking to Dylan, but we're not talking about that yet. We can talk about
he's a nice guy. Like
he's from Taiwan, right? He's in Taiwan right now, right?
Is he? I don't know.
I think so. It's very interesting, because I know Taiwan's a real country. John Cena disagrees.
Yeah, I think his artist is from there, and it's great work she's doing with Mara. It's a very nice book.
So how did you get involved? Because this is what's crazy. So I'll tell the story, and I'm the first person to admit this. So I'm going to take the fifth on the marketing before I give away all my secrets.
He wants, since he's there, I think he wants to expand. The project.
This is my question, because Stuffed Rock Studios is very interesting, and I came across them because they post all the time in my Facebook group. And I'm like, hey, how did you guys get in here? And how did this never happen? Now, I didn't know you were involved with them. So this was a happy accident. I'm like, oh shit, you're involved. I didn't know that. And then I'm like, because I was just going through and I'm doing my homework on them last night. I'm like, I'm interviewing you tomorrow, and you're involved. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Like,
yeah. What are the odds?
It's just one of those things. It's kind of like when I was interviewing Ian Flynn on Sonic the Hedgehog's 30th anniversary. That was a happy accident too.
There's some synchronicity, I believe.
Sometimes you just get lucky. And sometimes you're in the right place at the right time. And I almost killed a wrestler because I was tempted to bring Lisa Ortiz, who plays Amy Rose from Sonic the Hedgehog. And I don't think he would have made it in the interview, because I brought a wrestling friend who's a huge Sonic the Hedgehog fan into that interview with Ian Flynn. And if I brought Lisa in, I think my friend Killian McMurphy would have died.
Wow, that's great.
I think I was pushing him enough, and it was a really cool interview. I may or may not be involved in a wrestling match when I get healthy again.
Yeah, what do you mean healthy? Like you will stop drinking?
So I have to definitely fix my leg and some other stuff. And
I remember.
Let's just say me, Killian McMurphy, and Ian Flynn might may or may not be in a trios match together at some point in history. And it will be one of the greatest and craziest things of all time. And I would like to set it up still. So I don't know how it's going to be done. But it's something on my bucket list, guys. It is a bucket list item, and I am looking forward to at least attempting to get it done.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I was on Facebook, and there was that post there. The guy was asking someone who could speak Portuguese, and I say, all right, I do speak Portuguese, but it's Brazilian Portuguese, with another language in itself. That's nothing to do with Portugal. But would you rather have 200 potential readers or 10? Or 10 millions? And say, all right, I'll go for the Brazilian. And then we started chatting about the project, and then he showed me the art, and I was amazed by those drawings. So, all right, let's do it.
Because I'm a little bit nervous about that interview, to be honest, and I think it's going to be a fun interview because if it's anything like tonight, I can only fail downward.
Don't say that. You're very used to it, and it's a skill. You know, talking to people is a skill. And I don't know if there's a formula to it, but there's some do's and don'ts, and I'm learning along the way.
I've broken every rule, and at this point, you know,
I say shit. I get embarrassed. I get
my entire position is that even interviewing, because we're going to talk about Live Comics, and I'm actually super stoked because I think it's really cool that you were working with Stuff Rock Studios because. Again, you know, I don't know everything about them, but I've done my homework, I've written out my interview, and tomorrow's going to be a fun day because I have Max DeVille on, and I actually really like Human Hunters, and that's going to be my November Kickstarter book that I'm back, and he just doesn't know what to. I'm going to surprise him tomorrow. I'm in a very fun mood tonight. Clearly. But I'm also in a sad mood now. But
yeah, I feel it. You know, like I was talking to a friend of mine that the best way to tell a secret is just saying that out loud on a podcast.
So my favorite saying is 3 can keep a secret if 2 are dead.
Yeah, on podcast because like we're going to have like 5 people, you know, at night. And that's it, because very specific, you know, but it's a document that we are creating and we are uploading and is there forever to embarrass us for times to come.
What's very interesting is that, and I really like Stuff Rock Studios and what they've done. I've only read the first like 2 chapters of Mara, and so, but it is a very interesting comic, and I don't know how. I mean, I know it comes out every Thursday. I don't know if it's like 2 or 3 pages, or if it's just 1 page. Because I mean, but we're going to talk about it. It's going to be a good interview. But I'm actually stoked that you're involved in it because I think it's very important, and I think it's a good play to be involved in because that has a big reach.
The book is done. You know, like the book is already completed. I got it in here. Like it's been 2 months. I think they are kind of planning the launching the right strategy, you know, because they have been working on that book for
You're probably talking to somebody like me. Because I mean, you know, definitely strategy with them is going to be helpful.
Sure, it will be, yeah.
Because I have my own thoughts on how to position that book correctly, but that's just me. But you know. My rates are different than other people because I don't have a track record and I'm a risk. But if you hire me, I'm going to at least give you an honest position.
Yeah,
that's how I feel. So I'm going to try to pitch to him tomorrow.
Yeah, I was about to ask you something else. Like I'm using your time here as well.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
To learn a few things. And there's something I've been seeing on sequels is that when you hit the goal on the first one, and the tendency is to get less and less backers, as if because it's a kind of downward stream, as far as I'm aware of.
I've seen. So is that the tendency or is that the result?
I've been seeing like, you have a great first one who sold like 10K, and then the second one is about 7, the third one.
So I've seen a few things go in, and I just backed Tom Hutchinson's Legend of Oz, the third one. The third one did better than the first and the second one. So they must be doing something right. And I'm looking forward to those books. So Tom must be doing something. Big Dog Inc. must be doing something right. I like Big Dog Inc. as a company. They must be doing something right. It's just that, but that's not normal. Brian Pulido must be doing something right. But I've seen other people, and I don't want to say who, where your goal on the first one was 6 and your goal on the second one was 5. Why? But Rob Motari, who I really like, and if you don't back Snowball or Nightwolf, you're an idiot, for lack of a better word. And I recommend you reach out to him to see if you can get a copy of those books because they're good. I've read Snowball. Snowball was a fun book to read. The idea is that, though, he did, like, I think 20K on Snowball. He also paid me for a live read, so I'm not required to say it, but I will say it anyway, that Snowball is a good book. Wait for issue 2. It's going to be a fun one. I also had Mog Parks on that interview, and that was cool, too, because I never met Mog before. So the idea, though, is that I think, again, it goes back to marketing. All this goes back to the word, my favorite word, which is my favorite M word, marketing.
Yeah, so how long would it be the right time to release a second issue when you have the first one?
As soon as humanly possible. If you can get me my first issue in 6 weeks, and then you launch issue 2 in 3 weeks, so that all the issues 1's got in people's hands, and then as soon as you wait 4 weeks so that they get in people's hands, launch issue 2, and then get issue 2 to me in another 6 weeks, and then wait another 4 weeks and launch issue 3. Because that's the biggest problem in Kickstarter right now, is that it's 6-7 months before I get my book. I backed a project in April called Fever. I will not, maybe not in April, maybe in June. I will not get that book till May. Now, it's a graphic novel. It's 5 chapters, but that's a long fucking time to get something. I backed the Tony Shalhoub story, which is an AEW by Dirk Manning, in January. I'm not getting that book. It should be coming in the next 3 to 4 weeks, hopefully. That's a long time. That's a year-long wait. I mean, so my problem here is that you're sort of losing me a little bit as a customer, where, and that's how I feel at the very least, is that you got to get me content. I'm hungry for it. I want it. I'm willing to spend money. Get me my fucking content. I pay, Netflix in legitly 3 days is releasing Cowboy Bebop. They're going to release all the episodes at 3 in the morning on Thursday or 3 in the morning on Friday. I don't know when they're truly dropping it, but it's the idea that you're going to give me what I want, and I want the next bunch. The sooner you get it to me, the sooner I'm happy. And that's the whole problem.
Yeah, that's not what's happening, currently.
Oh, I know it's not.
Yeah. Some cycles take a year.
Why do you think that obviously I back one project a month, right? I would back people's projects. Even if the book was mediocre, if you're getting it to me every 3 months on fucking time, it's a big deal to me. You get me my books in the condition they're supposed to be, you get me my books quickly, and you're reasonably priced, I'll pay $20 for an indie book, no question. I mean, seriously, like, get it to me. Like, I just backed a book that was a Halloween book. I'm not getting that book till March. That's a fucking long time for me. I mean, don't get me wrong. February for me is a snap of the finger away in my business. But as a content consumer, March is light years away.
Yeah.
Because guess what? I could go on Crunchyroll. Guess what? I could watch indie wrestling. Guess what? And you know what is? At a certain point, I might say, fuck it. I'm not backing an indie project for 6 months.
Yeah.
And also now where I'm at is that it's a factor when I look at Kickstarters where I'm like, how fast can you get me my project? There's a book called Witches of Westchester. I'm from Westchester, New York. That's why I bought the thing. And if I come into money, Steph Wilson has that cover up on the original art that I'm tempted to buy. And you know, one of the things is that I just think it's funny, but I think that book's going to get to me in the next 3 weeks. I backed that book in September. You don't think I'm not going to back Witches of Westchester if they get me my book before January 1st of this year? If they get me my book in middle of December, they have a customer for life because they got me my book quickly.
They should know that.
People
should know that. Yeah,
like,
I think that.
keep the message. Say, look, guys, if you give me my book by the middle of December, I'm going to be championing you indefinitely because you did something that I backed 32 Kickstarters. You're the only company who has gotten me a book this quickly, ever.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been thinking of launching a different project every 3 months next year, just to keep me sharp, and not thinking of sequels or anything. But from the business point of view, I would invest in those, or maybe probably in the best one. You know, like if I have 4 books, each one with a different storyline, with a different story, you know, entirely different story, not connected, different universes, and then I would think that would be wise to invest in the one that did better, because I might be, you know, investing something that's not really marketable business wise.
I'm going to keep my thoughts to myself on this because we'll talk after, I promise, because I have my own thoughts on this, but they're extremely controversial. And I don't want to give anybody any ideas to steal stuff because I have my own thoughts on this.
Actually, it's a matter of strategy, and I know that you put a lot of thinking into that. Maybe something that we can talk offline later.
Of course, don't worry.
Yeah.
So anyway, I definitely this is so interesting because this is like my interview earlier today. It was so many fucking tangents. My cosplayer interview.
That's all we do, because you know, like I don't want to be a starving artist. I want to make money with my stuff.
See, that's the thing is that one of the things that people don't understand is that the reason why I'm also not doing comics is because I have financial requirements that are self-imposed upon me. I don't want anybody to think that I don't owe anybody alimony or child support. I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. I want to make that crystal clear, okay? When I say I have financial obligations, I have things like a 401k, a Roth IRA, a personal investment goal that has to be reached before I get to go take a risk in a business, you know? And so when I get my paycheck on Friday, it is divvied up. My paycheck is gone before I get it. That doesn't mean that it's spent. It means it is gone before I get it. So there are things where this is my first paycheck in 22 months. I am buying myself as a gift a $22 t-shirt. The rest is divided and divvied up and appropriately allocated. And it is not a fun decision to make, but it is a decision that will make me very, very wealthy. Yeah, and being wealthy can be a lot of fun in 30 years from now. And I'm going to get flack for it, but I understand what I'm doing. Because and it also gives me the power of saying, fuck you. I have the power of fuck you. And I'm going to utilize it as much as I want. And that's why I can do this interview. And that's why we can talk for an hour and a half plus. And I could talk to a cosplayer before you. And nobody gets to tell me what I get to ask and how I ask. Nobody gets to tell me that.
That's the kind of freedom that we need, you know, as creators.
I have the power of fuck you. I had Mike Barron on last night. I can go tell anybody I want to go fuck themselves.
That could be a book cover, The Power of Fuck You.
It's been done. It's been done. And
It has, probably, yeah.
so anyway, getting back to this, I do want to talk about Live Comics because that's how I met you. And I
Yeah.
had a good time on that show, and I would love to come back on at some point, preferably in January when my project launches. And we will talk about Roger Curtis just to return the favor. It will become an inside joke between the five of us. Because it's obviously the three of you, me, and Roger.
Yeah. He's a nice dude to have on.
Join the show, and it'll be a really good time. But of course, it's your show, so you guys can do whatever you want. I'm not too sure I'm welcome back. That's a different discussion. Yeah. But you right now have Deadball going on with them, and Deadball is so interesting because, and I'm going to take a shot at looking at it. It's dealing with 1910 baseball player Ted Miller. Pretty much is at the height of his career, and then he suffers an injury, and then he sort of makes a deal with the devil to bring back his career, and well, some shit doesn't go well exactly because he gives up some of his years later, and then certain things are happening, and then, well, he may or may not be in hell. He might be slaying some demons. I'm not exactly sure, but interesting comic.
I'm going to tell you something about that ball that most people don't know. But there was a guy on Twitter that he nailed it, and I was so happy that he could. The main character, Ted Miller, is based on 1950s actor called Wes Montgomery. If you look at him more closely and then you do your research on the internet, that's his face. Because I'm a great fan of his films. Oh, right. There you go. And that was my way to pay him a homage, a tribute, because I'm a big fan of all the movies, and he's very good. There's a film with Sinatra, and he's the main character on that film.
It's very much a position where somebody is saying, "Hey, I want fame and glory today, and I'm willing to pay whatever price I want to pay for it." And well, it's the back end of the trade.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing about that is that it's not a devil. You can interpret that as a devil. And even the carnies there, all of them were based on real attractions in the carnival shows back then. Like that girl that walks backwards, she existed, and we have pictures of the real. Let me show you. Where is she? Where is she? Where is she? Okay, now that's one. Yeah, this one here. That was an actual person in the 1920s. And the werewolf, he was just a hairy guy, very big and very hairy, and all those characters, in a way, they look more creepy, and they're scary as shit. And the guy, Ted Miller, he's just a desperate guy who went into his drinks and he made really bad decisions. And it's very enticing story because that could happen back then because there were no insurance for any kind of accidents.
It also gets very interesting because we have people in today's society who are making deals with the devil in a lot of ways, and they're making real decisions. And I mean, look at the president of the Lakers. I don't know if you know her story, but she posted, I think, for Playboy, and she's still dealing with it. And she's a very rich, powerful woman. And I would love to have a conversation with her because I think it'd be so interesting. But she still gets flack for it, and she did it because she could, and more power to her. I actually kind of respect her for it, in a lot of ways. But the idea is that people make deals with the devil all the time and then deal with the consequences later. I
Yeah,
mean,
you can make that metaphorically, or do you believe that can do actually deal with the entity?
look, there's plenty of immoral people who cross lines and go down roads, and I don't know if the devil really exists. We could talk about that, and that's a whole philosophical question or a literal question. But I definitely think that you can go make deals with bad people. You could go make deals that are very betrayal. You could become very much a Judas, if you will. And I think these are very, very interesting things, and I think there's a lot of stuff this story is exploring, and I think it goes beyond baseball. I really do. I don't think that the baseball component of this is the real thing. I don't even think the Carney point. I think it's really more philosophical of what I saw of it and what I understand, what I've read, into it. Because I haven't read it yet. Obviously, it is just in the collector's edition, and I'm broke. I'm not poor, broke. It's a different. Poor is a lifestyle. Broke just means you don't have money. I get paid on Friday. It's the idea though that's how I interpreted it. So I just think it's a very interesting book, and I think that people are going to come into the book one way and leave the other.
Yeah, and we have an special edition. It's going to be only in black and white because I took a kind of approach which is very dark, and some of the readers they loved it, and they already backed us on the black and white edition because of those that kind of noir feeling that we gave to it. And that's it. I'm looking forward to the launch, which is going to be in December. I think in late in December. Yeah, at the end of the year, we're going to.
I would punt to January.
Yeah, probably because it's going to be after Christmas and 1st January.
I was gonna launch mine in November 1st, which I thought was gonna work fine, and apparently I've been having some issues, so I'm launching in January, purposely, because I can't launch any later than that. Otherwise, I would launch in February for what I want to do. But it's the idea that January is going to be rough, but it's not going to be as rough as December. And people are like, "Oh, it doesn't matter what time you launch." I'm like, "Yes, it does," because if I don't have money and I'm middle America right now, I'm the average American. If I am right now budgeting my money for Christmas and the holiday season, so is everybody else. So, but even going further, because what I like about what Livet does in particular is that you guys have special editions before the Kickstarter, and I think it's very interesting what you're doing with that, because that's almost a preview copy. It also is a pre-order copy. It also helps to get the funding done, and your goal on the Kickstarter doesn't need to be as high. And from a business standpoint, it's very smart. I've seen people do some cool stuff. I think Preston Polster does, and I might have got his name slightly wrong. He does a 100 limited, very nude version for like a week and a half. Then he waits 10 days or like 7 days, and then he does the regular version of the Kickstarter. And so it's also another way how to do it. And so I think it's super smart because people like that shit. And people like, really collectible positions and books that are and limited. And,
people love the scarcity. You say it's only 100 and they want to grab theirs. That's the way it works. That's a psychological side of selling your stuff. Because people want to be special, and making it 100 makes every one of them special because nobody else is going to get that again. That's only 100 and that's it.
It's very much, if you look at my eBay store, I do a lot of 250 print runs, 350 print runs, possibly a 400 print run. And I think that a lot of people don't understand that exclusivity is what matters. Now, there gets to a point where if you have 1,000 print run, depending on who you are, it could be very, very valuable or not. I just have a 1,000 print run Ivan Tao, Harley and Ivy Quinn sort of kissing. It's a great cover. I have an affinity towards certain things, for lack of a better word. I do like Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy as a couple, but that's beside the point. I think it is very, very smart because that definitely helps the funding for this project to get there and covers some expenses. So I think it's very, very important. I think it's very smart on that number and level. So I think it's going to be coming late December, early January, right?
Yeah, I'd say at the beginning of January, I don't know, between the end of December. They don't have a date established yet, which is bad because we don't
I'm
know.
sure. I'm sure we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Off, possibly cross promoting, possibly.
Yeah.
Not too sure how we're going to do it, but we could come up with something. So I'm sure, because if I'm launching January 1st at 12:01 a.m., I'm pretty sure we could cross promote. I have an idea that'd be pretty cool to run with. But I digress. So obviously a lot of cool stuff's coming with it. As I say, I think people are going to be very, very surprised with it from what I've seen so far. So obviously we're going to do it for an hour and 45 minutes publicly.
Yeah.
I like to say.
Exactly. And here in Brazil is 1:04. Yay. But I'm a night. I'm a night owl. I'm a night owl. I don't mind. Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to go for another hour privately, but that's not the point. After this, but I do want to talk going beyond this and backing out of all the comic stuff, because I do like talking about my second favorite topic at this point, besides money, is obviously talking about, how has COVID been in Brazil and how has it affected you? Because this is something that I think is very important that people don't understand in the world, is that COVID is a global problem. Wherever you stand politically on it, it doesn't matter. It is a global problem. And so how has it affected you? How has it affected Brazil? Because in the US, it is very different than in other countries.
Here in Brazil, we have the second largest number of deaths, second to United States. It's about 600,000 people directly, dead by COVID, and it was a big hit on the whole country. Inflation's back, unemployment is on the rise. People are basically, really desperate at this moment here, losing jobs. There's some hope that it's going to get better next year, but I know some guys who's lost their jobs and they have to close doors. And in my case, it was pretty hard. Last year, at the beginning of this year, I was hopeless, I didn't know what to do. This is why I started doing comics, because I had time in my hands. And everybody's vaccinated, but obviously vaccine is not 100% secure, and there's still people dying. And it has affected us big time. We're not going out as much because we don't have the money for it, and people are scared. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that it's going to pass very soon, and the market's going to warm up again. I don't have many object reasons to believe that, but that's the type of person that I am. I believe that's going to get better no matter what. I love to have that approach. Otherwise, I'm going to be pissed off all the time and I'm going to drink even more. And I don't want that. Yeah, it's a real problem, but I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I might be wrong, but hopefully we're going.
Yeah. No.
Hopefully we'll be alive.
Yeah,
talk about that next year.
God forbid the meteor hits us all. But the idea is that even going further off of that, because obviously COVID in the United States has dictated a lot of things, cons are coming back. As I stated, I don't know if I'm ever going to come back to a convention because this is the first time I'm making real money as an individual. And if I'm making money by not going to cons and running this show, to me, it's pretty clear where I should throw my weight around. But obviously, I'm curious where you think conventions are going to go because New York Comic Con went off somewhat well. And now I don't know, the people say people were buying and people were very excited to be there, but I don't know how the celebrities did. I don't know how the audience felt about it. I don't know how vendors did. And I don't know if it was a sustainable con or if it was, hey, let's just go out there and see what happens type of con. And I don't have any data on that. But obviously, where do you think they're going? Because I'm in the camp, and I'm the first person to say it, where if I'm making money without cons and that I'm curating an audience and I have a business that I'm going to be building that very well can 10x what I would do at a con, then why would I ever go to a lower position to go to a poor man's solution when I can have a rich man's solution to a problem? So I'm curious how you feel about the con scene and conventions and where they're going.
Yeah, I live in Bahia, which is far away from the biggest cons, which are located in São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, which are big states, and they can have those type of events going on. But this is still a big question, if that's going to happen or not. Carnival is going to be in February. We still don't know if we're going to allow it. And the same goes to, stadiums, shows, conventions. We don't know. We are at the wit's end. And I'm not afraid of going out, but I do understand that people don't want to get exposed. And I would love to go to conventions because I like meddling with people. And in this field, you have to be shown. People have to see your face. Your name has to be connected to what you do. Because if you're not remembered, you're not hired. That's it. So this is why, like, we do podcasts, we post our stuff on Facebook, Instagram, ArtStation, or Pinterest, whatever comes, like I'm posting my stuff, because that's necessary. But if you have another avenue that you can invest on, that's even greater than that. But I don't know what I'm going to do. And I don't know what I'm going to do myself. I'm going to keep on doing what I'm doing. I'm not going to cons because, it's just too far away from me. But I would go if I went.
And then even to go further, because this is the last question I'm curious about. Before I give you a chance to promote yourself, how do you feel about Kickstarters? Because at this stage, I'm going to be on Kickstarter probably January. You're going to be with Flipped Comics on Kickstarter. But there is the concern, and this is why I want to build out my product, where obviously, there's a real concern that is Kickstarter sustainable. We've seen so much comic growth in the last almost 2 years on Kickstarter, and there are more projects than ever before on Kickstarter. People are backing projects like crazy, but I know people in the last 2 years who have backed like 350 products and projects, and then they haven't backed all of them physically, but they backed a bunch digitally. And I'm kind of saying to myself, like, holy fucking shit, like, people are spending a lot of money, but there has to be a point where this is not sustainable and that there are too many projects on Kickstarter. And maybe I'm wrong on this, but it seems to me that there is a point where this is gonna collapse in on itself because there's just too much indie comics being produced and all being funded, and that there's only so much money out there, and especially in the US, because programs have ended and the government giving out free money has ended, and You know, that's something that and I'm curious how you feel about that, because that's a real question and a concern I have in the industry right now.
Yeah, it's very hard to draw a formula for Kickstarter, because from my point of view, is like it's not about how good your project is to get funded. It's more about how much attention you can drive into your project.
It's about how much attention, it's about how much positive or negative attention you can get, because you can do it both ways. It's
Yeah,
who you are, it's why you're there, it's also who's endorsing it. Because if you have somebody who has 10 million followers on Instagram endorsing your product, if you have Kevin Hart saying, "Oh, Yo's the best comic ever," and I'm just using Kevin Hart because I think it's a great example that everybody's going to get, you're gonna get backers, and you're gonna have that problem solved. Because it was like, I don't know what Yule is, but Kevin Hart said it's great, right? So it
yeah,
becomes.
it's good. It's good that you mentioned that, because like to be successful, it doesn't mean that you have to have a positive ratings. Sometimes you have really bad ratings, but you drive so much attention because you're offending people, and those people who are on the other side, they get to see what you're doing and they think different. They say, all right, I like this project, I'm gonna back it. Is it
Or
as offensive?
conversely, I'll give you a better position on this one. Let's say that I had Mandy Summers on. I want her on. I think it'd be such a cool interview. People who don't like Comicsgate, for instance, I'd be like, I want to pay attention now, because I don't like Comicsgate. But what is Andrew gonna ask? What is he gonna ask her? Because Andrew is a no nonsense type of guy, and this is gonna be an interesting interview. And what is he going to ask her, and where is he going to go? And if I put up a posting in, I'm interviewing Mandy Summers, I'm going no holds bar, you know what? People might say, okay, I don't like Comicsgate, but is Andrew going to talk about comics? Is Andrew going to talk about issues? I was supposed to have Marcel Dupree on. A bunch of people, before Marcel backed out, were like, I'm waiting to watch this. And a bunch of people were DMing me, like, where is he? I'm like, I don't know. But a bunch of people who are not fans of his were like, we want to see you do this interview. And that was something that was very eye-opening to me, where I had about 15 people DMing me like, yo, man, I'm staying up to 11. I got work tomorrow. I got to be up at 6, but I'm not missing this thing. I'm not missing it. And then Marcel wanted to keep pushing it off and off and off and off and off. And then after I said, fuck it. The point I'm trying to make is that, people really wanted to see that, because they wanted to see me go hard at Marcel and call shit like it was supposed to be. And I would have. And it was supposed to be. I was really excited for the interview. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, he just no-showed. But people were really excited, and there was a lot of drive for that interview. And people still want to see it. So the point I'm trying to make is that it's very interesting with Kickstarter with that. And that's why I go back to my favorite word, marketing.
yeah, but I do think that their algorithm is going to evolve. Like if they remain the same, they're going to collapse anytime
I,
soon.
I don't think, though, that they can, because I think Kickstarter's algorithm can evolve, but I think all the traffic driven to Kickstarter is through other venues that utilize that concept. See, nobody markets on Kickstarter; you market to Kickstarter. That's the
Yeah,
whole thing,
yeah,
and
they
it's
rely on funnels. Yeah, they rely on loads of funnels that they get for
yeah,
free.
it's not even funnels. No, no, no. Funnels is a generous word. You rely on traffic tunnels. Tunnels, not funnels. A funnel is a very different entity than what Kickstarter is a funnel. If I go and say, hey, my Kickstarter's on Facebook and we are having a controversial reward and we do no nonsense interviews and we go hard and we're talking about the real issues on this show, back it so you can be controversial and get the facts. That's not a funnel. I'm bringing you into a funnel. I'm bringing you what I like to call a tunnel, not a funnel. And the reason why I utilize it and say it this way is because once you understand what I'm talking about, because Kickstarter is a funnel. If I put my thing out on Facebook, I'm trying to get you to click the link and go into my funnel, not be a funnel. So when you advertise on Facebook, it's not a funnel. You're advertising for your funnel, which is
That's interesting. Yeah. Anyway, my point is, like, they rely on outsourcing. Like spreading the things from other big websites and programs, and they even get television free time from time to time. When anybody is interviewed on TV talking about their own projects, they mention Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and that's a great avenue for them. Free advertising is fantastic for any website, and if you're lucky, you're going to get some.
Oh, any. The best advertising for Kickstarter is negative, because negative goes 2.5 times further than positive.
Really?
So when people attack me and I get attacked, it goes further. By definition, if I get attacked and get into fights on Facebook and all that stuff, my views will naturally go up, which is insane. It's actually broken. It's insane. Negative ads go further than anything else.
Yeah, I do believe that. This is why the fake news market is something that actually makes you get more fans. Like if you get some kind of difficult question, if you arise any problem that people are offended by, or they connect that to any type of upheaval, it's great for
I'm going to be
you
100% honest, and I have no problem admitting it here. If I start doing a bunch of Comicsgate people, if I do Mandy Summers, I'm going to get flack for it initially, but I'm going to also get a lot more people interested in me. And I'm a business. I'm on Rumble right now, and I'm putting up 3 to 4 interviews out of my backlog catalog on Rumble. I'm not even touching my podcast, my other show yet. And I still have to go through season 1, but I'm going through season 2. And the reason why is that there's going to be traction there for this stuff. And you know what it is? It's coming. And look, I think that Mike Barron interview that I just did on Rumble is going to do good, because, it's clear, and I know exactly how to label that thing. I should throw that interview up real quick on Rumble maybe I'll throw it up in the next few days and do slightly out of order, because all of a sudden what will happen is that there'll be real attention on me. And negativity goes a long way. I mean, I purposely did, Mike Barron, thin blue line. That, when I put that into groups, 1 or 2 things will happen. People are going to say, let me listen to this interview now. People might leave my page, might leave my Facebook group, or they're going to be like, I want to listen to what he has to say now. And also, that interview was not what I wanted it to be. It was not my best work. But guess what? People will see it and say, oh man, this wasn't a good interview. Andrew did 5 more interviews after that. Those interviews after Mike Barron are going to be higher rated than what I did with him, because people are going to be naturally inclined to say, that was a disappointing interview. I want to expect better from Andrew. We took a dive and then we want to spike back up. And that's what happens. It's super interesting on that front. But this is really deep marketing level stuff. And
sure it is. You got to embrace what comes to you. And sometimes you can ask something and somebody understands differently, and you get that kind of bad moment, which can be either embarrassing or just go down the drain. But people respond to it. People love it. People respond to it.
No. There's a reason why I am doing well right now, and I'm doing okay. I should say I'm not doing well, but I'm also in my infancy. I mean, me as a sponsor and dealing with sponsors is about 4 months old right now. So we're talking about an infancy position, and we're talking about somebody who has legitimately just turned on the switch. And so I'm in my infancy. I'm not a year into this yet, but I'm figuring out how to do things, and I have a lot of control and a lot of power, and it's super, super exciting. So it's very, very cool in that regard. on what's happening. And I think that, you know, it is, again, though, the only reason why I've gotten here is that I shut up and listen. I've learned a lot of stuff and I've implemented a lot of stuff. And I've also sat down and said, hey, how do I figure out these problems? And that's what I think is what's going to determine Kickstarter, because it determines everything else. It's understanding what Facebook is, it's understanding what Twitter is, understanding what Instagram is, what is TikTok. And all these things have different strategies that work, and how do you utilize those strategies to benefit what you're trying to fund or accomplish? Because maybe you don't want to fund. Maybe funding is actually not good on your project. Maybe having a failure is better for business. And that's a big question.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's a great question to ask, actually.
Yeah, I agree that sometimes when you fail is the best thing that can happen to you. You know,
There's so much to go into with that, but obviously I'm going to leave it at that because I like questions and I like leaving questions, but I do want to give you an opportunity to promote yourself. 2 hours plus in, obviously long interview day for me. I am almost 4 hours of interviewing just today alone. And so in 10 minutes, it will actually be 4 hours, which is awesome.
Wow.
So where can people find you? So where can people find you on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, websites? Obviously, Livid Comics. That's an easy one. livid.com. Go check that out because you guys your order Deadball, and anywhere else where they can support you.
Yeah, my biggest avenue now is on Instagram. I'm posting there weekly. It's impossible to do that every day. And I also co-host a podcast with the Livid guys. You know, we go live twice, sometimes 3 times a week, which is a lot. And talking comics and related stuff, we take on tangents. We talk whatever comes to our minds. Very same thing as you do here, you know, like no restrictions, you know, that's no schedule. And if you type my name, Rogerio Rios, like there's a lot of stuff in there. There's another guy who goes on under the same name, but he's not an artist. He's a footballer and he's bad. But yeah,
he's not your team.
Not my team. He's against my team. This is why I don't like him. But yeah, you find me there. I chat to everybody. And if you have a project going on and want to chat, like we can meet sometime there on a podcast. And Andrew, thank you for inviting me over. And I'm glad to be here, you know, talking about whatever, you know, like we talked about, we covered loads of things, you know, especially what is recently going on. We touched that kind of soft spot, which was good. And yeah, that's it. So chat to you soon. And
I would give you the final word, but I think that was it. So I believe that is a wrap.
Yeah, that was